Guten Tag everybody and welcome back to another episode of Meat and Three Veg. Today I'm making some dinner. It's going to be all about sous vide. Meat wrapped in condoms. So I've got a couple of things today to prepare. Earlier it's around about 3:30 at the moment in the afternoon. I'm planning on eating at around about 6. So we're going to start getting the sous vide machine working, also known as a water circulator. I got this one as a gift for my birthday. It comes at about, there's a whole bunch of different versions of it. This comes at around about 1100 watts. Essentially what it does is that it will heat up water and maintain water at the perfect temperature for you to then slowly cook your meat at. So for beef, for example, I'm using a porterhouse cut today that was previously frozen. I vacuum sealed this to maintain its freshness, and I sealed it with some butter, some garlic, some thyme, and some rosemary. I'm going to pop this into the sous vide. It's going to cook for, it's quite a thin piece. It's only about, say the Americans would say, under an inch, just under an inch. So this is going to cook for about an hour and a half. And then I'm going to flash sear it to create a crust in a stainless steel pan. And I'll also show you how to make a really awesome pan sauce as well, my way. A sous vide machine is really one of the only ways in which you can easily prep meat without having to cook for an hour on a barbecue or in a pan. But so for today, what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to remove all of the extra bits and pieces that I bought along with this. This kind of metal setup thing is really useful if you have multiple steaks. You don't want them touching each other. You don't want them floating around. I'm only doing the one steak, so I don't need it. In fact, I might just use the one to weigh it down. And I'm going to fill this up with water. So I'll be right back. All right. Here it is filled with, I think, enough water for this. It's only one steak, so we don't fill it up all the way to the top. And I'm going to plug this in and start it up. Now you don't need this tub. You can just have the water circulator unit and then just attach it to like a big stainless steel pot or a saucepan. I'm going to actually turn this on first. So 55 degrees is the temperature, which is great. Sorry. I'm going to set this up for an hour and a half. So I'll put that in there. Up to temperature nice and quick. Right, so while that's heating up, and I'm going to keep an eye on this just to make sure that it does its thing, but the timer will not start until it hits 55 degrees, and that's when the timer will start. So what are the benefits around sous vide over other types of cooking? If I'm being perfectly honest with you, flavor-wise, nothing really beats a grill, because you get all the bits and pieces off of, older cooks you've done. But there is, an argument that stainless steel has its place when it comes to grilling meat, simply because no other cooking material gets you as good a fond, which makes a really good sauce. Today, I'm going to be sous videing to create the perfect temperature and then flash frying in a stainless steel pan so I can still get that fond and still make a really lovely sauce. So this is kind of like best of both worlds. Obviously, flame grill is probably better for flavor. But this is a pretty close second, and it's a way less effort. I don't need to set up a grill or a fire grill going. I don't need to clean the damn thing up. It's really easy. The other aspect of it is I just really like it. It's just set and forget. You just kind of turn it on, you fill it with water, you dump your meat in there, and away you go. The only inconvenience probably would be that you have to use a vacuum seal bag, but once you get used to it, it's really handy because you can vacuum seal the hell out of everything, and the shelf life of all items in your fridge increases for threefold. So that's pretty handy as well. I can put 6 or 7 steaks in there. I can pre-cook 3 big steaks and then put them in the fridge, do another 6, and then by the time I'm ready to actually cook for my guests, I can just flash fry all of them in under 15 minutes and everybody's food comes at the same time, so that the very first steak you cooked isn't cold by the time the last one's ready. It's also not just for steak as well. So you can see here that the steak is starting to float a bit, which is not what I want. So I'm going to just weigh this down with a piece of stainless steel. So it doesn't just have to be used for steak. A very popular one is fish as well. Fish is a very brittle and oftentimes not very well cooked meat, simply because it is a little bit difficult to cook. Either it has to be poached, or it has to be deep fried, or it has to be cooked en papillote, which is in that baking paper envelope thing. Poaching fish in a sous vide will guarantee that it's cooked right. You can also do vegetables in there, I wouldn't recommend, but there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do in there. One thing of note would be how long you sous vide for is a function of the thickness of your meat. So if you've got a piece of meat like this, which is about just under an inch in thickness, it'll take about an hour to an hour and a half. The other day I was cooking up a big cutlet piece, like a tomahawk steak, about 2 to 2.5 inches in thickness, which is probably as thick as you want a cut of steak to be. That probably took about 3 hours of sous videing time. Generally, I would never recommend over 4 hours. Once you get over 4 hours in the water bath, the proteins start to break down and it just becomes mush. So that's on the upper end of what's okay. But yeah, look, I'm going to leave this for an hour and a half, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to check on it. We're actually going to store it away. I'm going to store that away, and then while I'm storing it away, I'm going to cook. I'm going to prepare the ingredients for a pan sauce, which I'll go into a bit of detail later. So yeah, see you in a little bit.
2,000 years later.
All right, guys, welcome back. It's been close to an hour and a half now. There's about 10 minutes left before the steak is done on the sous vide, and I think I'm going to get started on the preparation of the sauce. So the sauce today is going to be a pan sauce after we fry up the steak in a stainless steel pan. Many different types of pan sauce that are quite famous, range from Michelin star restaurants all the way down to the classic pub. The most common ones are going to be gravy, they're going to be pepper sauce, and they're going to be mushroom sauce. Those three are the most popular. We don't really have any drippings today. I mean, we can a little bit, and I'll show you where you can get a little bit of drippings from to constitute the gravy. Pepper, one of my favorite things in the world, is a great sauce, and mushroom sauce is also one of my favorites as well. That is the problem. I love all three types of sauce. Why can't I have all three? They only add to the flavor, so in that case, I'm going to do all three today. So there are some key ingredients that we're going to be using today for the combination sauce. That's what I'm doing. So mushrooms, of course, I've picked some button mushrooms. I'm actually, because I don't want the mushrooms to be overpowering all of the other flavors, I'm going to actually keep a lot of these like halved or whole in big chunks of mushrooms. I got one shallot. This one's actually a bit old, but it should be fine. You can just use red onion or purple onion, whatever you want to call it. Some fresh cracked pepper. Any kind of acidity will do fine as well in this case. So today you can use a lime, a lemon, orange if you really want. You can use the zest from some of those as well. Today I'm actually going to be using yuzu juice. So juice from the yuzu citrus fruit. It's a Japanese citrus fruit. And then some Dijon mustard. You can use whole grain mustard. You can use, if you're really brave, you can use hot English mustard. I wouldn't use like the American style mustards. I think they're a little bit too sweet and full of sugar. So yeah, so look, we're also going to be adding some butter, some stock, and some wine to this whole thing. So those are kind of core products that I'm not really going to mention. But yeah, this is going to be the main thing. You could also add a little bit of garlic. I might add 1 or 2 cloves of garlic in there as well. So yeah, we'll kind of see how we go. But I'm going to start prepping the ingredients so that once the steak is done, it's dried and rested and ready to cook, I can cook the sauce straight after. So you know what? I am going to add some garlic. I'm going to add it. I'm going to take some garlic from the big garlic bag. This is some peeled garlic that they sell in certain Asian groceries. Really handy because I personally hate peeling garlic. And I love my garlic. So I'm going to do a shit ton of garlic. And we're going to need some butter. Unsalted butter works best because we're going to be seasoning this ourselves. And we're going to need butter, some wine. I've got some wine here, some white wine will do fine. And some stock. I ran out of homemade stock, so unfortunately we're going to have to go with some beef stock. But yeah, look, so first and foremost, I'm going to wash some mushrooms. So I'm going to give these a rinse. Just keep a track of which ones you're rinsing, which ones you haven't rinsed yet. get us a chopping board. The mushrooms have kind of been washed. We've got some chives here ready to go as well. The chives will be the garnish on top. I love chives. I'm actually growing my own. I'll do an episode on my hydroponic horticulture adventures soon. Shallots I want finely diced. So, you know, we're gonna go in with this and just finely dice this. This is not the best knife for this, by the way. A better knife would be like a paring knife or like a dicing knife. So it's a little bit clunky. The weighting's not quite right on this, but that's okay. We'll make do. It's a little bit blunt at the tip. It's alright. I'll leave that like that. A little bit dangerous to do. You could take off a bit of your nail if you're not careful with it. So I recommend starting slow and then speeding up as you get better. It's going to be a little bit thicker on the cut as well. I don't really care. Great. So one thing I always say around this is you plan out your ingredients based on how they go in the pan normally, right? So shallots are pretty, like, you know, they need a bit of time to sweat, just like with all onions. So they'll go in first, and what's going in with them is something that needs quite a bit of time to cook. That is the mushrooms. From a size point of view, some of these are a little bit too big, right? This one's cute, it's perfect. This one's just there. This one's a bit too big. I'm gonna cut that in half. This one's also too big. I'm gonna cut that in half. Perfect size, bit big. That's my sous vide done. That one's okay. All right, those are my mushrooms, which I'm gonna add in. Amazing. All right, sous vide is done. Oh, that's hot. Okay. Probably should have done that with some tongs. But it's all right. Great. Okay. Amazing. Out. There we go. Now, there's a lot of juices in this that I actually want to reserve and hopefully just be able to pour all of this out. Lost a little bit, but that's okay. All right, that's ready to go. Okay, so the garlic is something that will go in a little bit later from the onions, because this will burn if you add it too early. So, ooh, cool. Just going to mince this up. It doesn't have to be super fine. I like little bits of garlic I can actually taste. If you don't like garlic that much, just use less and chop it a bit finer. The other thing you can do is also, the moment you chop it, you can also coat it in olive oil, and that will stop it from becoming incredibly strong. Something about the olive oil restricting the flavor of the allicin in there, so it's basically a way to contain those strong acrid flavors that come out. Acrid, I say, but not really bitter, but more like a spicy bitter kind of garlic flavor, which everybody loves. So yeah. How to chop chives. If you had a big bunch of chives that you wanted to chop, you could do it by wrapping it in paper towel and then cutting it. I'm not using it all today. I'm only going to use a smaller portion, so we're going to be quite selective and use this many. The trick to cutting chives is not to press on them, right? Because if you press on them, you'll squish them and they'll bleed everywhere and it won't be nice. It's to actually use the knife to chop through it, right? Which requires you to have a very nice sharp knife for this. The quality of the chives will come out much better this way. Great. Awesome. That is very nice. They look very delicious. I think chives make the best garnish in the world. There's nothing better than some chives as garnish. Alright, so It's time to cook the steak. That's getting pretty close to temperature now. Even if it's a bit under temperature, I think it's okay because, oh yeah, that's smoking. Because we're rendering the fat first. I'm gonna grab this and I'm gonna chuck it in. Fat side first. Okay. I'm gonna really let that try and melt down some of the fat. Fat renders best at a lower temperature, and this is a porterhouse sirloin cut. So there is quite a bit of fat on the side that we do not want to leave uncooked. A lot of that fat's rendering out. There's a lot more fat in the pan than initially started, right? Which means it's rendering out, which is good. Delicious. Now I'm going to sear the steak itself. Because we rendered the fat, it's curled up a little bit. So in order to make sure I get a nice even sear, I'm using a meat plate. I'm going to give that an extra press on the fat side. And there it goes. Had to open the window. That's pretty much done. That's it. Happy with that. Got a nice crust. Cool. Now there's a little bit of crusty stuff at the bottom, which is what we want. We're going in with the hard stuff. So as I said, I like a combination of all the sauces, so we're going in with heaps and heaps and heaps of black pepper as well from the pepper cannon. There we go. Boom. That's going to be nice. We're just going to sear these mushrooms. Get some color on them, sweat out the onions at the same time. Color and flavor on it. Gonna chuck in the garlic. So that's shallots and mushroom and garlic so far, and it smells amazing already. This is what we're going to be using to build some flavor on the bottom of this pan before we deglaze and then add in everything else. If I take it a bit too much, the garlic will burn, so this is when I really want to deglaze. In with the white wine. Right, get that flavor off the bottom of the pan. There you go. All that wine is now kind of disintegrated. Gonna go in with the roasting juices. This is some extra butter that goes in. Butter and fat. Makes for a very yummy sauce. I want to hit those herbs too hard, otherwise they'll break apart and you'll be digging out stuff for ages. Not too much Dijon mustard. So now we've added in textures of gravy from the roasting juices. We've added in pepper to make a pepper sauce, and we have a base of mushrooms that constitutes the mushroom sauce, right? Now we just need all of this to come together, and then at the very end, add in butter to give it that sheen. I put it in at the end because if you put it in too early, it will just split, and then it won't taste very good. Time to kill the heat, and in with the butter. Don't need too much butter, just enough for a good time. Okay. And then we're going to just work it in and give it that sheen that we're looking for. Cold butter into a hot pan, but with the fire off, means there's literally zero risk of this splitting. You might turn it on slightly, just to give it a little bit of an emulsification heat to it. And delicious, look at that. That's looking more like a pub sauce as well now. Add in with a little bit of yuzu. I like it a bit zesty. That is very creamy. Give that some time. Amazing. Now we'll take this out. It's done its job. Don't need it anymore. Same with these whole onions, same with garlics, I mean. Just take them out. And we'll season it right at the end. A little bit more salt. Perfect. That is the perfect sauce, in my opinion. It's got every single flavor profile of all of my favorite sauces, all in one, so I can enjoy them all at the same time. And yes, I'm a bit of a glutton like that. Great, and now let's slice up this beef. I'm going to cut against the grain. It's got an amazing crust. And what I might do is I might actually cut through the middle first to give you that perfect cross section. There you go. Now I'm going to plate this up. I'll show you what one piece of meat looks like. Look at that. Perfectly cooked medium rare. Did not have to worry about it at all. Yep, a couple more mushrooms. One more mushroom here. That's the finished product. I'm gonna absolutely demolish this now, so I'm leaving you guys. See you later. Thanks for another episode. Bye.